All right, so we have our handsome Mr. Ethan. Ready, Ethan? So maybe what we'll do is we'll warm up with a little bit of some Find Its. Ready, Ethan? Find It. See if we can get him in the groove. He did get to play earlier with the flirt pole. It's one of his BFFs now. But I did bring out a few smaller toys. Nice job. So we can work a little bit with that engagement. I know you mentioned that you tried working with him out in a more open area, like out on a walk. I believe you had said that it was like kind of a place that you tend to go to and it's kind of a little calmer. But he still was very intrigued by the odors, the environment, and the critters. So obviously when working with our handsome guy, oh my gosh, chewing is still optional. So that does happen. Ready? Ethan. So let's say Mr. E, yes, right there, good job. If he's a little bit concerned to like the flirt pole, he says, I don't want it, I want only the toys. Is the flirt pole when we practice in the morning, the first hour or so is them going out for potty breaks, getting a few moments to play with either each other or myself and some items. And then from there, then we go right into working the beauties with some of their skill set. So ready, Ethan? Nice job. He's like, no, I'd rather just frolic or play. So if Mr. E would rather do a little bit of toys for engagement, I did bring out the smaller ones on purpose. So ready? He's like, oh my gosh, is that your BFF? So let's say we're working on a little bit of loose leash walking. This could again happen without gear on. The main goal is I would just want him to stay nearby or orient to me and stay some focused moments with attention to me. So right here, good. And we go right into some playing. I will send you the link to this toy too. I did mention real quick this morning, there is a company called Clean Run, and it's cleanrun.com. They have a slew of wonderful dog toys. So some of them are longer like this with sometimes fleece and like fuzzy critters at the end, or one with a ball and a fuzzy critter. So there's all different varieties. So cleanrun.com could be another great venue to find some great products. If you do shop on Amazon or online shopping, this one technically I got off of Amazon. I want to say it was around like $18. I know JoJo really loved it, and I think her mom did order or was purchasing one. But again, it's whatever makes sense for you guys or feels comfortable. So right here, we're getting some gorgeous engagement with the toy. Then we might go ready. See if we can get a little bit with me, and we'll do a little bit with some loose leash walking for a few steps, and then good. So I don't want to make the engagement so long that I lose him in the process. So what I mean by that, if I make him work really hard to finally get one little moment of play, he might either get winded, lose his focus, or not feel that it's valuable enough to hone in even with a cool toy involved. Nice job. So right here, he's been doing a real great job just grabbing, and he's very soft, which is great. Some of them are not so soft with their mouths, and they have to work on practicing letting go or how much pressure to use. He's more of a softer gentleman, which is fine. So we go again, ready with me. Take a few steps together. I might even try moving a little bit away. See if I can get him to move into my space, and then good. And we could go into some play. So it's almost like we want to try building up that, again, moving towards you is cooler than maybe ignoring us. I know for my boy Bill, same thing. He is more of a sniffer. Like he would rather just go sniff as the information in the sense of reinforcement. So for him, so let's say he does a great job doing some little check-ins or little, name recognition. Then we go into another great 5-10 minutes of sniffing. So feel free to rotate through those different venues like we mentioned, so you can still be setting up both you and your handsome guy for greater success. So we might go, you ready? He's like, yes. So I'm going to get his attention on my toy. I might say again, with me. You could say heel. You could say let's go. You'd want to pick a slogan for your loose leash walking so he knows what it means to be near you, ready, and moving into your space. So we might get a little sitting, and I might say good and give him for that. So you may have moments where maybe you're asking for sits or for downs and those different transitions to different behaviors or different skills with food or with a toy as a reinforcement. Nice job. So he loves it when the toy comes alive. He's like, I will catch that bad boy. Oh, nice catch. So I would highly recommend, if again, he's more of a sheepskin kind of guy, you will find certain toys have more motivation than others. I know you brought a few of his other toys. He might like those ones at home, but I feel like in here, he's definitely more of a sheepskin guy. This could be though, if you were to check out Clean Run, like I mentioned earlier, ready? then you may find that they have, and I'm not saying you have to do real animal skins, but there's rabbit and there's different types of critters that, again, either they're from the industry and those are the leftover products, or it could be also that they use the pretend items. Ready? Come. Yeah, good job. So we may have for Mr. Handsome, toy drive is more up his alley, and we'll work a few skills and gain some attention this way. So ready? With me? He's like, oh, I'm already so tired. And he only has so much in him, which is fine. Sit. Good. And you may find, okay, maybe we get a couple good reps and then we take a little break, So don't feel training has to be immensely big. Woohoo, good job. You're very agile. Because if, again, we make it into a big training moment, it might be too much and for too long, and then they're like, this is lame. So remember, we want to keep it short and sweet for greater success, but also so your puppy finds that there's value in trying those skills. So maybe for a moment, he did a really nice job working a little bit with that toy. I'm going to see if we can practice maybe a little bit, hi my lovey, with some of maybe his loose leash walking while on gear. And what I'd love to do is maybe work a little bit with maybe some stay behaviors and a little bit with him as well. So again, with this handsome guy, anytime he's near me, I'm again going to capture those moments and feed him for that response. Ready? If he also prefers the breadcrumb trail, some of the babes actually do better with following little targets on the ground. This is where I know I mentioned the pattern games a little bit prior with Mr. A. You may find that for Mr. Handsome over here, Mr. E, some of the pattern games like the Super Bowls game could be another great way to create focus on you while the environment is still doing its usual madness. But like I mentioned earlier, ready, Ethan? Nice check-in. We want to make sure that we're still working the babes well under their threshold, and that when we are practicing, he's like, I got to go explore. And then when we're practicing, that when we do start to practice those particular skills, they're not always paired with that scary or overwhelming or exciting thing. Because otherwise, then it could be, this is the precursor to those things happening, like we mentioned a little earlier for Mr. A. Ready, Ethan? Yes, nice. So if Mr. E doesn't always respond to his name, I know he's really hopeful that the flirt pole will magically come out of the air over here because it was hiding up on my shelf. So let's say, for example, I'm going to give him a little break from his lead. We like to rotate through both. Let's say, for example, he is not as responsive to his name. So we want to be really careful that we're not overdoing our slogans in the sense that we use a lot of voice, but it doesn't sort of create an association with a skill. So if, let's say, Mr. E sometimes hears his name and he doesn't actually check in, that's another moment where his name loses its meaning, or his name just becomes one more noise that we tend to spew at them. So let's say Mr. E is a little distracted. I would go sort of closer to him. I'm going to go ahead and feed him for being near me. And then what I might try is a little bit with, again, a little find it. He's like, oh, that's so much work. He's such a little lazy bones, which is fine. Ready? Want to do a little find it? We'll get you up. So right here, we might go, Ethan. Yes. And then feed for that little name recognition or bounce back. So if, let's say, he's not quite as intrigued, right here, Ethan. And let's say I don't get his attention, I'm going to go to a sniffer, Ethan, and then yes to feed. So if I don't get him to hone in on his name, remember his name doesn't necessarily mean, hey, you, and then do this other thing. So if, let's say, you said his name and you want him to actually recall, I'd recommend to say his name, but then ask for the recall word, which could be come or here or whatever slogan it might be. Mr. E is really hopeful that the flirt pole will come out of nowhere. So if, let's say, we are constantly saying his name and he doesn't quite know what his name might be at times, try to only use his name when you actually are trying to get his attention. Also, if you think within the environment he's going to be very unlikely to be successful, you want to typically ask for your skills or your cue only if you think you're about 80 to 90% certain that he's going to be able to give you that response. So if, let's say, Mr. E is really distracted, I might go much closer, Ethan, yes, and feed for that lovely looking in my direction. Remember too that everybody's babe is going to have a different comfort range. By the time that sometimes they're working through, he's like, oh, I'm going to shop. By the time they're working, ready, find it. I dropped one. You can try that one. So by the time they're working through some of these skills, they may already be a little bit tired. He did get to wrestle with his friend. He was also playing with the flirt pole earlier. So he did do a great job. So, but let's say he's distracted off in the distance doing some sniffs. I'm going to see if I can go ahead and call him. And as opposed to feeding the handsome guy, I'm going to see if I can do a toy for reinforcement. So Ethan, come. What's this? Yeah, what a good boy. Nice. You want to take it? He's like, this is not as cool as that other one, but he'll try it. What do you think? So I know for him, again, these are more intriguing than, for example, the food is at times. Nice job. Oh my goodness, wild boy. So he's such a soft man. I love it. So gentle. Ready? My guy would be like running across the room, plow into me sweetly, and then jump on me to grab the toy in my arms, which is, again, no worries. Ready? So let's say, again, we're going to try a little bit with some moving around. Then nice job. Good. We go in some play. He's like, I'm so tired. Oh my goodness, go get that bad boy. So with our beautiful boy, nice job. I love how he like plays with this toy by like flopping it all over the place. So we may find for him little moments of success better than looking for one big chunk of time. Two, for some of the beauties, their ability for retention is not as great as others. So everybody's different. So remember, when practicing, the more reps we do in calmer bubbles, the more that can be something that's well rehearsed to then bring out in the harder bubbles. If we're trying to teach him these novel skills, like let's say working with a toy or whatever it might be, and he doesn't quite know how to rock it even at home, for example, we may find that trying it out in those harder bubbles may not be the greatest place to learn those skills right then and there. So, but again, it does take time to get that generalization of the skill set. So don't worry if it takes you a couple weeks. It's very normal to build up this drive. What do you think, Sarah? He's like, I'm exhausted. So if he's a little bit pooped out, I want to try if we can work a little bit with going to a spot and work a bit with place. So I should have grabbed my cot before, but I'm going to quickly see if I can sneak out there for just a second. It just, the dog cot is right out here. And if he's never worked with a cot, don't worry. So I'm just going to grab one super fast and we'll try and work a little bit with the dog cot and see if he can do a raised bed and work a little bit with his stay behavior. So, and if again, so here I come, Ethan's like, what the heck is this crazy lady doing? What do you think? He's like, I don't know how I feel about this weird thing. So for some of the babes, a raised cot, if they've never had one or checked one out, this also smells like a whole bunch of other friends. What do you think? Smells funny? So if he's never had one, I'm going to try first putting it out on its little legs. If, for example, being this way is a bit too spooky, oh, but very nice job, Ethan. Good boy. That was so good. So right here, I'm just going to go ahead and feed him right over the item. If he didn't feel comfortable going on by himself, I would have flipped it over and then showed the handsome guy that me standing on it didn't equal it sinks or sort of sways. For some of them, the fact that there's almost like a little hammock where it's hollow underneath can be a little overwhelming. So we might, again, see if we can kind of lure him onto it. If he thinks it's a little bit spooky, I'm not going to force it. Nice job. But if, let's say, he goes on his own, yes, nice job. I might capture those great little moments where he on his own tries it. If, let's say, he did a great job, I might do a little find it off to the side so he could, don't bonk it with your broken foot. Then you could not bonk it, but then you could, for example, feed him for getting off and then have him be able to replace. So if we were working a bit with the stay, that's where we're going to feed for not moving. So with the stay behavior, this is where you're building up that not moving has value. I know he's really doing a great job shopping. He's like, guys, the toys live up in here, in case you were wondering. So right here, I'm going to see if I can say his name, Ethan. Yes, right there. Nice job. So I tried a little bit with his name, and then I did a little bit with the positive interrupter, see if I could get his focus. Ready? I'm going to do a little find it on the bed. So let's say, for example, the find its are going kind of nice. If he was really scared of this, I wouldn't make him force him to sort of think between I want the food and I'm not feeling safe to try, because that will create more conflict. So if your babe is like, oh my gosh, I would really love to get that snack, but the cot itself is really scary, we could again be poisoning our food. Oh, you're checking out all the toys. We could be ruining our cue or poisoning our food as the bringer of the negative. Excuse me. So ready, Ethan? Nice check-in. Good job, sir. So again, here you go. So we'll see if we can get Mr. E. Ready? Doing a little find it. What do you think? So in the attempt to work a little bit with going to our target, we're just building up that the fun stuff can happen on there. So I'm not going to even apply the stay yet. Ready, Ethan? Right here, yes, nice job. So I'm going to see if I can get Mr. E to go all the way onto the cot. Nice. I'm going to see if I can get him to hang out on it for just a few reps. I'm not going to go ahead and instantly go ahead and ask for the stay cue. I sometimes like to just get the beauties comfortable and see how they're feeling for their mental and physical. So right here, I've given him several goodies for being on the target. If, let's say, this is going really well, you could start to, for example, ask for the stay as he's getting more comfortable. But for right now, I just want him to think there's a lot of great value in giving this a try. So he's like, I don't know if I like the crunchy snack as much. What do you think? So the main goal to this is the good stuff happens when you're on the target or when you're in the stay position. So if, let's say Mr. E gets up and wiggles, he's not going to get in trouble. He's not wrong. We want him to just build up value, and going to the spot, it doesn't have to be scary or threatening. Ethan, yes. Nice job. So I might toss a little snack over here for him to come grab. Nice job, sir. So we're going to see if we can go ahead. Ready? Get his attention. We'll lure him on for now. We'll see if we can get him all the way on. What a smart man. I'm going to feed him for that. So I'm going to see if I can maybe get a little down from him if he's interested to maybe lie down on the cot. Right there, yes. So I want to make sure sometimes when we're practicing hanging out on a dog bed, a blanket, some sort of target, is I want to have more of a relaxed down than like the Sphinx down where they're laying down, they're able to quickly pop up. I want this to be more about relaxation than it is like obedience in the sense of stay there and in this position. Oh, he's like, I'm going to get comfortable. So of course, Mr. E is facing his caboose towards you guys, so I'm sorry. So with Mr. E, let's say I'm going to attempt to work a bit with this as a stay behavior. I like to have a distinct wait and stay. I know in some of the previous videos I discussed this a little bit. So wait would be wait there, sir or madam, until I call you to me or release you and you go and move to go grab something or retrieve something. Waits are typically, I like to use them at a doorway, wait before going and getting a toy or a food item, wait before going and meeting something or someone. So the dog is holding back and then they get released to either do a recall with come, or they get released to go grab it and retrieve the item or go visit, whatever it might be. So with stay, this is where we think about it as freeze tag with room service. So I want Mr. Handsome to start thinking there's benefits in vegging, which again, he's probably very good at when he's most comfortable. But in a new environment, this is challenging. So notice how a lot of times they get up and they wiggle. So I'm going to try and set him up this way so you can see him a little bit better. Ready? So we might go again, bed. Have him go check out the snack. And this could be bed, place, mat, target, spot, whatever slogan you would like to have it, feel free. So right here, we're going to, again, oh my gosh, chewing is optional. We're going to feed him for placing on it. We might get our gorgeous little down. He's like, oh, I guess so. Nice. And feed right there. Yes. And now I'm going to try and do my little stay. And then while he's in the stay, I want to keep my duration very short and sweet. So if this was newer to him or he's not as good at home or wherever he's practicing, I want him to find that this is really easy and attainable. So I'm doing kind of rapid fire little tidbits for building up that going to our spot can be, again, just about vegging. So the benefit of stay is I'm feeding him for being stationary. When I want to end my stay, I would feed him his last snack. Let's say that'll be the last of his reps. Maybe he did 10, maybe one day he did 3. So those are the intervals between each snack. Right here, I'm going to say all done. And then we would technically want to get him up and we would get him up and wiggling, but there's no food for getting off of our target or out of our stay. Stays can happen anywhere. They don't have to be on a target, but the benefit of having a visual is for a lot of the dogs, it gives them something to hone in on. So if, let's say, for example, you were doing a stay anywhere in the world, let's say out in the field, out in your backyard, he's like, oh my gosh, these toys, you could have him do a stay anywhere. But for a lot of dogs, they're super visual. So having a target to work on place and going to a mat may be another great way to build up stay, is being stay there until I come get you. So right here, he's like, lady, I'm shopping. Ready? Ethan. Yes, nice check-in. So right here, I'm going to feed the handsome guy for that little name recognition. He's like, no, I don't like that one. I know I have a couple of crunchies in here for him that he doesn't always love as much. So let's say he's a little bit stuck. I might go, Ethan, ready? Bed? Do a little find it on the bed, see if he wants to come check it out. He says, no, lady, I think I'd rather practice with my toys. He's like, this one might be the winner. So if I lose him to the environment, I'm not going to, again, get upset or scold or get more harsh. Not that I'm saying anybody's doing this, but a lot of times we get frustrated when the dogs are not as responsive. Remember, though, to keep thinking about him as a furry little exchange student. He doesn't always know what culturally or physically or verbally you're trying to ask from him. So for a lot of dogs, he might be just thinking, you know what, I'd rather go play than lay down on the silly bed, and that's acceptable. So you may find that when you're practicing with him in and around the home is, like I mentioned prior, short and sweet little sessions for greater success. Sir, are you going to try out all the toys? If, let's say, he's having a little bit of a hard time, hi, my handsome, I'm going to go into a little find it nearby, see if I can redirect him onto the ground instead. Good job. Do you want to do no find it? So we're going to bring him back to his little bed, have a nice big jackpot, which again, a slew of goodies all at once, one after the other. And he can do a little bit on his little cot here. He's like, I guess I'll eat the gross, crunchy ones. What do you think? Are they awful? He says, maybe. So with the handsome guy on his cot, I'm going to see if I can maybe get one more lovely little setup with our stay. So we're going to sort of, again, lure him a little closer onto the bed. Ethan's like, I'm tired. Maybe I don't feel like rocking another bed. So do not fret if, let's say, you don't always end on the thing you were hoping. Ready? So Ethan, nice, find it. So if, let's say, sometimes we have to lower the criteria to have little bits be successful, that's better than having nothing going in your direction. But if, let's say, there's a moment where your dog is overwhelmed mentally or physically, or they get startled by something, you don't need to end on that last thing you were doing. So some folks have been told, well, if your dog was in a stay, they have to go back and end on a stay where they're successful. And that would be maybe okay if the dog wasn't struggling because they're having a hard time, either mentally or physically. So if your dog is a little stressed, a little tired, a little overwhelmed, maybe they're just not feeling it, if you keep rocking it to the point where your dog wants to give up or it becomes now a negative association, your place behavior may not happen as readily as you'd like, or any of your skills. So make sure that if, again, something is immensely challenging for your babe because of the environment has maybe changed or there's a huge distraction, don't force them to pay attention or work a certain skill. Make the criteria so low that they can still be functional, and maybe you ask for other behaviors like a go sniff or go explore, so they're no longer doing the thing you don't love but can do something that's maybe softer. But if there was a big noise like a backfiring car or something like that and your dog just shut down, don't force more skills out of them because it will make it, again, the whole concept that they're working on a bit scary or negative. So ready? So Ethan might do another little find it on his funny little cot, and we'll call it a day for this one. And we'll try a few other little skills with this handsome guy. But he really is doing a splendid job for day number 3 for Doggy Day School. And then we'll get him to come again next Thursday, and we'll do a little bit more with the handsome man. But we still have another little session for him, so don't worry. But he's doing real nice. He says, I'm going to go check out all those bad boys. Huh, handsome boy.